It's a really warm spring day here in Tasmania, and in this patch I have just completed the last major planting for the spring. There's a couple of little bits of things that will go in over the next few weeks, but nothing very significant. And it's really nice to have reached that stage where you know the summer garden is planted and you can actually sit back a little bit, pay more attention to weeding, and watering is going to be the big job now for the next 2 months at least, as it begins to dry out here. When it came to actually rotary hoeing this, it was drier than I thought it would be. I had to actually water it overnight to get it really soft enough to give it a really good rotary hoe. Once I rotary hoed it, I have run some rows through with the wheel hoe. It's the easy way of working with a bed this size. Of course, where the potatoes are, which are these 3 rows here, I personally prefer to go a little bit deeper than the wheel hoe does. So I came back with the shovel, dug it out a little bit. I fertilised everything with some blood and bone. Now there's a couple of extra things that I have done though, and that's with the potato rows, I came in with a little bit of phosphate. Now, being a root crop, they really do like that, and this soil is phosphate deficient like most Australian soils. The bottom row where I planted watermelons, I added a little bit of potassium to that as well as the blood and bone, so that just catered a little to the needs of the watermelons. Now last summer I grew the watermelons up the top of this patch, and I got some and they were quite enjoyable, good watermelons, but not very big. The top of this patch is very dry. The moisture tends to come down towards the bottom. So this time I decided to try with the watermelons at the bottom of the patch. They'll be easier to keep the water up to, and yeah, we'll see how that goes. So as I said, 3 rows of potatoes, and I've done them the traditional way that I do potatoes. I put that fertiliser in, stirred it back in with a wheel hoe, and these potatoes have been in the cellar. They've grown a little bit longer than you'd ideally like, but often that is the stage they're at this point. And dug out the compost heap where I had a bay that was ready to be utilised, and put that on the potatoes and then covered them back over. So that's a really good sized crop. It'll of course come in towards the end of summer that we harvest this, and it will give us potatoes really well into the winter. You know, probably potatoes that'll last to September. We then have generally an autumn crop that actually carries that extra couple of months through to the summer. Now the top 2 rows, where the soil really is not as good as the bottom section, it's as I say, it gets drier up this side, and also up here I think it's just a little bit clayier ground, so there's not as much organic matter. It just doesn't do as well. What I have put in these 2 rows is red kidney beans. Now, I just use the packets that I buy from the supermarket, Australian grown red kidney beans, and it doesn't take really a lot of seed to do this amount. I mean, these are a couple of good long rows here, and I've only used half a packet of seed, and we'll harvest hopefully a lot more of them. So as I have previous videos of how we've grown red kidney beans, and we've done quite well with them. I find them one of the easiest dry bean crops for us to grow. Now you'll see here I've left some wheat. Now this was from the original green manure crop, and it wasn't planted to grow as a wheat crop. So it's a lot denser than you would actually want to grow your wheat if you're really looking for a good crop. The heads are not really great, but I thought I'll let that go and I'll just see what we can get off it. I haven't really tried growing wheat as a crop, as a grain crop. I'm curious. This here is probably growing it in the worst situation with the lowest nutrition, the least amount of water that we could find really on our property. So if we can get some wheat off that, we're doing well, and we could do a lot better in a better situation. But wheat grown hard like this often is a better quality wheat for making bread anyway. So we'll just see what comes. So that's this section set up really now for the summer growth, as I said earlier. I will need to water it. Our rain expectations now are very low. Probably for the next 3 months at least, we're not going to get high rainfalls. There might be 1 or 2 bigger rainfalls, but it's not the usual pattern of the summer here. So I will need to water here fairly regularly. I'll come in with the sprinkler. Look, there is moisture in the ground there, so I'm not going to rush and do it right now. There's going to be a little bit of rain hopefully before the end of the week, in a couple of days' time, and that will probably get things underway here. Now, I'll take you and show you what else I have planted since the last video. Now, in the last video, I planted the tomatoes that are here to my left, and they're doing well. I still haven't got back to doing mulch on them yet, but that will happen very shortly. When I was planting the tomatoes, I mentioned that I would put pumpkins in here, and that happened a few days later. They are now just coming through the ground, not all of them, but just beginning to emerge. So shortly this will be all pumpkins. Now, I'm a little bit short on mulch material this year. I don't have the straw that I normally have available or other mulch sources, so I'm going to have to deal with a little bit of weed here. I have in these sections, because this is where the tomatoes were last year, I've put in the remnants of the corn and mulch that was on the tomato beds. I might be able to spread that around, but I'm really going to have to do some maintenance, you know, with the wheel hoe or with a chipping hoe to actually keep these weeds at bay until the pumpkins actually get underway and overrun it. Now, this patch here behind me, I have planted with corn. Also, a couple of other things have gone into it, but the major thing is corn. I really only plant one corn crop for the year here, and I grow a fair bit because we tend to harvest it and freeze it. The other thing that has gone in here is some Minnesota midget, which is a small rock melon that's bred for short season, cool climate growth. So it'll be the first time I've grown that, and it'll be interesting to see how it goes. At the back there, you'll see a string, and that's just a result of a little miscommunication between my wife and myself. And she went and planted some amaranth in there where I had already planted corn. I don't think she disturbed the corn seed too much. I think that we'll probably get the amaranth and the corn come up together. Not a big problem because we mostly want the amaranth as a vegetable to harvest the leaves, and it'll be interesting to see how it coexists with the corn. Now, here I wanted to talk about an experiment that I have been conducting. I have mentioned it a little bit in the previous videos when I was planting this, that I was growing some calendula in here because it was recommended to me as a way of preventing aphids coming in and troubling things. Now, normally with kale like this, as the season is warming up, it comes under stress, and these nice juicy tips then come under attack by the aphids. So at this stage, I'm not seeing any sign of aphids on these tips. They all look really clean and really healthy. So far, looking really successful, but the season is still early. There's, you know, in the next month, as more stress comes on as they dry out, it's possible that there'll be a problem. The young cabbages here are all looking good. Now, I did have a plan to grow cabbages successively through spring. and I began planting seed every month. It all came unstuck though part way through, because I had this lot out okay. I had the next lot of seedlings coming on, and something attacked my seedlings and wiped them out. So it basically took out that stage. I'm also running a little bit short, a bit challenged for space for the cabbages at the moment. So I've decided I'll just pause with that now, and I'll come back, probably start planting seed again at the beginning of December, and try and stage cabbages then for an autumn and winter crop. So this might be it for the summer crop of cabbage. We'll just see how that goes. If more space opens up somewhere, I might get some in, but it doesn't look hopeful at this stage. That's all for this video. I'll be back soon with another one. Thanks for watching.